What's up, boys? Data 782 here with episode 1, the first official episode of the Buffalo Sabres Franchise Mode. In the last episode, we kicked everything off, looked at the coaching, looked at the scouting, looked at our roster and everything, and I asked all of you, what should we do with this team? And before I even get started, there was a comment from Mayor0508 Gaming that said, "You're missing Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in your franchise," and I realized that the rosters, something was wrong with the rosters, and I thought that because I changed the potential of some future prospects like Marco Rossi and Jamie Drysdale, that it somehow reverted the rosters. But I said that can't be because we have Wayne Simmons on the team. So I looked a little bit deeper, and it ended up that Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen was actually playing in the ECHL with some team that he got, I guess the Sabres ECHL affiliate. So I had to restart the franchise mode, and I transferred Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen over to our team, medium elite. He'll be our starter in Rochester. He is going to be a huge piece of this team, so no need to fear. We have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen on this team. He will be a huge piece of this franchise between the pipes. I'm surprised I forgot him. He's such a big piece in the teams that I go up against in every single franchise mode, the two that I've done in NHL 20 so far. As I was going through the ECHL rosters, I realized there were a few other players that were on ECHL teams when they should be on NHL, like Evan Fitzpatrick, Callum Booth on the Hurricanes. So nothing big, but I just reassigned 4 players, I think, including Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, knowing that'll make a big difference besides Luukkonen. But just to say that we got that done. That's what the intro ep is for, so I really appreciate that. And what also changed was our coaching staff, because when you restart a franchise mode, you get a different coaching staff. So I did everything else exactly the same, but what I can't control is the coaching staff that they give to me. So our new head coach it was supposed to be Cesar Castonguay. Now it's Miles Alsner. He is an A-rated coach with A- to A+ in every category. Very nice to see. And he has a 66% team fit. Loves Eichel, loves Reinhardt, loves Olofsson, likes Skinner pretty much, likes Yoki Harju. So this is a very good bounce for us in terms of getting a good coach to start off this franchise mode. So I'm happy to have Miles Alsner on the team. Dalzotto, Furland. I'm hiring a goalie coach. AHL, we look okay. I sent out all the offers to scouts. No need to fear. I kept everything exactly the same as it was in the last episode. The only thing that changes now is there are some possibilities for better line combinations. For example, Olofsson, Eichel, and Reinhardt on the first line gives it a +5 because they all have check marks across the board for the line fit. And then you have +1, +1s here. On defense, Dahlin and Ristolainen, they were a 0. Now they're a +1, and so forth. So let's get into the comments from the last episode. I think at least just for this first episode, we're only going to go up to the trade deadline, unless we're really like a President's Trophy team or we're at like the bottom of the league. We're going to stop at the trade deadline, and I'll wait for suggestions on how we should move forward in our first season. But getting into this first episode, there are a lot of comments. Thanks so much to everyone, all the love pouring out from the first episode. A lot of you excited for this series, so let's do it. Duke Anderson says, trade for Jesse Puljujärvi. He sims like a monster. I could definitely see myself going after Puljujärvi, a player with low potential, well, low trade value, but decent potential. Hank Draper says, Dylan Cousins never grows well in my franchises, so I would keep my eyes on that as he's one of your big trade pieces. And then T3PO seconds this. I've traded him, and I've been glad I did it more than once. I also kept him once and then traded Middlestat, and that was a big mistake. So that's something to keep note of as well. Jeremy C says, I would put Dominic Cahoon on the second line and trade for Nick Schmaltz on the Coyotes, because for me, every time I go into a sim, Nick Schmaltz scores on a good pace with Cahoon. So that's interesting. I'm going to talk about my second line strategy in a minute, but Nick Schmaltz and Jesse Puljujärvi are a couple options at the moment. MVL12K7 says a completely different train of thought. Try to get the first overall, tank, trade the older players, trade Okposo, trade Skinner, trade Johansson. But Jake D replies, he says, nah man, keep it realistic. No one would take Okposo or Skinner contracts IRL. And I think that's the way I'm going to go with. If I was just trying to rebuild this team as fast as possible, for sure I'd dump those contracts. But I think to keep it realistic, a hole has been dug here in Buffalo, and we're trying to get the franchise out of it. But unfortunately, we have to deal with the repercussions of what was here before us. Jeremy C. also says trade Reinhardt for Jonathan Drouin and some picks. That way you can put him on the +5 on the first line with Drouin, Eichel, and Skinner. But now that we have a different coach, I don't think it's really necessary because we already have that +5. And I think it would make sense to keep Sam Reinhart for the moment at least. And then GRB Gaming also says better C. Giordano. Loves Mark Giordano, the guy, so we'll see what I can do there. But looking at another avenue of comments, I put it to the Buffalo Sabres and the NHL Franchise Mode subreddits on Reddit and asked them what they thought about the future of the Buffalo Sabres. And a great comment coming from Joel Litjukes says that he'd look for a lot of those easy to get, low risk, high reward kind of guys. So you have Eichel and Middlestat down the middle, but you need the winger depth. Guys like Josh Hosang, Daniel Sprong, Derek Pouliot, Julius Honka, Alex Galchenyuk, etc. Hopefully one or two of those can develop into a legit top 6 winger or D-man. Maybe play one with Eichel and one with Middlestat, something to consider. I'd also go after a goalie, he says, but I don't think he saw the Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen edition. So I think we're good at goalie for the moment, or at least for our future goaltending. And good luck, let me know what you do. Well, you're about to see it. So going after one of those guys like a Hosang or a Puljujärvi or a Sprong is definitely something I'd like to do. On my first line, maybe on my second line, that would be a good fit, or even my third line. So like I said, at the moment, Reinhardt, Eichel, Olofsson. In the last episode, I said I want a second line center. Marcus Johansson, he does play center in real life sometimes. He has 70 faceoffs. It's really not ideal, but it is a possibility. He's a playmaker. Skinner's a sniper. I would like to put Skinner on my top line, but I'd only be able to get a +3 no matter what I do. So do I want Skinner getting a +3? That wouldn't be bad, but if I get the +5 on the first line, I get the +1 on the second line. I could put Cahoon with Johansson on Okposo, but once again, there's no chemistry there, and you want to get chemistry to grow. But it wouldn't be the end of the world if I did that as well. Like I said, a lot of different permutations, so you can let me know your thoughts on that. Zemgus Girgensson can be my third line center with Wayne Simmons and Dominic Cahoon. And then Jimmy Vesey with Vladimir Sobotka, who he has 79 faceoffs, so I wanted to go out and sign Dominic Moore for the fourth line center, but Sobotka has 79 faceoffs, and it would not make sense to play him there. Michael Frolik is a good two-way forward, so it's a full two-way line here on the fourth line. And then as depth for forwards, I could call up Johan Larsson, or I could just keep him in the minors, give him the +1 on the line here, and go and get Dominic Moore just for depth instead of full-time fourth-line duties. On defense, Dahlin and Ristolainen get the +1, Jokiharju and Montour get the +1, and McCabe and Miller get the +1. So I'm pretty happy with that. With a lot of two-way Ds, I think every guy, all 6 of them are two-way Ds, so it makes sense that +1s are all that you can get. In the goalie situation, Linus Ullmark backed up by Carter Hutton. Matt Hunwick is our depth on defense, and I'd like to get some forward depth in free agency, like I said, but I think for the moment I'm pretty happy with the second line center, unless something really came up, but as of now there won't be anything that comes up. So concerning the wingers, like we said, I wouldn't mind putting Okposo on a different line and getting a guy like Puljujärvi to really do well on the second line. The problem is we can't scout line fit for people who are in the AHL. So Hosang, Puljujärvi, Sprong, guys like that. I've done some research on their trade values and what it would cost to get them. I think Puljujärvi is the safest bet in terms of trade value. Like, don't want to give up so much. It's low risk, high reward. 78 overall, 21 years old, low elite, really low trade value. But he is costly, and he's a sniper, so he'd fit. 78 overall, he'd definitely be in our top 9. If I want to get Puljujärvi, I'd have to give up somebody like, I don't know, maybe Tage Thompson. I was looking at the trade maker. They want Tage Thompson. I'd have to, because they're not looking to give him up, so that's the problem with wanting to go after him. Tage Thompson, power forward, first round pick, 6'5", top 6 potential. He is 21 years old, but I don't know, I'd prefer to keep him, just that it's tempting to want to trade him. I could trade Pekar, medium top 9, 64 overall. I could throw him into the deal. What else could I trade to the Edmonton Oilers to try to make this happen? Laaksonen, maybe. I can't trade the whole farm here, but I could try and just give up a little bit more. Ogilvy, guys I really won't be using. Like, just throw in some garbage, and then I'll give them picks to make it worth it. They have 49 contracts, so they can't take more than... So I'll take out Ogilvy. So a couple of like garbage prospects. And remember, Puljujärvi in the real world, he won't be playing with the Oilers, so they're looking to try and move him, even if it's for really cheap. They want to get him out of there so that they at least get something back. Could I give you Pekar, Laaksonen, and 2 4th-round picks for Puljujärvi? I really doubt it. This guy was a 4th-round pick, two-way forward. What kind of road are we on here? Value isn't there whatsoever. Okay, that's understandable. Unfortunately, we don't have a 3rd-round pick this year or next year. I really don't want to trade my 2nd-round pick. Actually, I'd rather trade it now than later. I could trade them my 2nd-round pick. I think this would be worth it in the long while here. Could I get a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th back? What do you say? Rejected. Doesn't meet our block particularly well. And for a 7th, no. Okay. So it won't be easy. Even though the trade value is there, they don't really want to move him, even though it would make sense for him to be on their trade block in real life. Julius Honka might be an easier catch since he is on the Dallas Stars trade block. 77 overall, 23 years old. I'd like to play him in the NHL. Another two-way D though, so it's hard to maximize chemistry. Just that he is a possible, what can I say, low risk, high reward. Yeah, I guess that's all I could say. So if I went to what it would take, they want Dominic Cahoon and 2 4ths. Yeah, no chance. But I could trade them someone who's in my top 6 on defense, because he would be replacing someone in there. So my current top 6 looks like this. They want all of them. I don't want to trade Jake McCabe. He's a leader on this team. Maybe Colin Miller, making 3 more years at 3.8. I could try and trade Colin Miller, but low top 4D potential. He's a very solid defenseman. 4-star puck skills. I like this guy very much. The trade value would be in our favor if we did this deal. Dallas would even be over the salary cap. So if I did this, I'd have to take something back, and maybe what I take back can be something that I move in a deal for one of those other prospects. Janmark, maybe? He's only making 2.3. That wouldn't be bad. Matthias Janmark, 80 overall sniper. Yeah, that wouldn't be bad at all. He fits the first line. I wouldn't really use him there. Colin Miller for Julius Honka and Matthias Janmark. Do I want to do this? 3 years at 3.8 isn't a bad deal, and he's a good defenseman. It's just that I want to go after someone who could really grow into something special. Colin Miller is good, though. I don't know if it makes sense to do this. I got to think as a smart general manager. I don't think this is the smart move. I'd like to go after Honka. I know he could grow, but Miller, he's 3 years older and 5 overall higher. It's not really anything too wild. I know Honka could grow. I've seen him grow very well, but I don't think this would be the smart move for us right now. So I'm going to back out on going after Julius Honka at that price, but I still want to go see other guys, like there's a Derek Pouliot and Joshua Ho-Sang also. I can't find Pouliot. I forget what team he's on. I'll check in a second. But Josh Ho-Sang, yeah, again, around that same value, just they don't want to move him. He's a playmaker with 3.5-star shooting. What would New York want for Josh Ho-Sang? They would want a 2nd, a 4th, and Pilut, or Tage Thompson and a 6th and a 7th. The Pilut and a 2nd and a 4th isn't a bad deal. I'll keep that in mind. But if I could trade that for Jesse Puljujärvi, I'd rather trade Pilut a 2nd and a 4th for him instead. Similar value, that could probably go through. They want to give me a 2nd, a 6th, and Allmark, no chance. Thompson, see, let me try if I could give them Lawrence Pilut and then maybe a 2nd-round pick. I know that's a bit costly, but for Jesse Puljujärvi, who could really grow, I think that could be a more worthwhile deal. Pilut is 23, 77 overall. I don't think he'd grow very much. If anything, I'd be surprised if he even made the team ever. So a 2nd and Lawrence Pilut for Jesse Puljujärvi. Low elite potential, 21 years old, 4th overall pick in 2016. Let's try and do it, boys. Of all the deals, I looked at Sprong. I didn't look at Pouliot, but I guess it would make sense to do my due diligence. Derek Pouliot, here he is. So low top 4D, 25 years old, 77. He's really not going to grow into much if we go. But offensive defenseman is nice for the chemistry. I think I'll go pick him up for something really cheap. I think I'll try to do that. Not right now, but after I make this deal with the Oilers. Let me try and go pick him up for cheap afterwards. Once I trade Lawrence, he can replace him in Rochester. So the Oilers, are they finally rid of Puljujärvi for a 2nd and Lawrence Pilut? What do you say, Edmonton? Trade rejected. I thought they'd be more interested in that. The deal for Ho-Sang was a 2nd and a 4th, so maybe the 4th really pushes it over the edge. What do you say, boys? Still not very interested in what we're offering. Could throw in Pekar here. Still, you're quite far off. Really, I don't think I'm that far off. Like in real life, I know I'm far off, but according to this trade value that you've put on Puljujärvi, it's not really far off. You're a bit off in value. Okay, so let me try something like, that's it for picks this year. I'll give you a second and a fifth. I get a first and a fourth this year, just in case we don't do well. Don't want to trade our first. But then next year I can also give you a fourth. I know I'm, yeah, trade accepted. All right, boys. Jesse Puljujarvi is on the team. We got him. A bit of a costly move in terms of draft picks with a second and 2/4, but hopefully he'll make it worth our while. So before I fix the lines, I just want to go and see if I can get Derek Pouliot as well. Hopefully, I'm going to try and trade like Andrew Hammond for him because I don't need him anymore with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen as my starter in the minors. So if I get Derek Pouliot and then try and max him out with like a +3 on that top pair in Rochester, then maybe there's hope for him yet. This would be like the last chance of his career. Last chance you. So Andrew Hammond for Derek Pouliot. Value's not really there, but they're both like dregs of society, the NHL society. I'm surprised Asplund doesn't have a little more value than that. Davidson, 59 overall, 20 years old, medium top 9. Yeah, we can go ahead and trade him. Davidson and Hammond for Pouliot. Yeah, go dance and cheer in the streets. There you go. I know I could have gotten a bit more out of it, but I want to keep it realistic because Hammond is literally worthless in terms of trade value. So let's fix up the AHL and NHL lines and see what we're looking like to finally start this season. So we're just going to advance a couple of days to get all the scouts, coaches, and free agents signed. We'll go through a few preseason games, and then we can finally see how the team is shaping up for the beginning of the regular season once I skim through all of these. We win 5-0 in our first preseason game. You'll love to see that. Serge Cote is on board for the goalie coach position. More scouts. The guy's name was Sergei Kostitsyn, by the way. Shout out to Sergei Kostitsyn, fall from grace. Matt Molson is back on board, boys. If you know the Buffalo Sabres, you know Matt Molson, legend. They should name it Matt Molson Arena for the contributions he's given to this team. Love this guy. Dominic Moore is on board. Adam McQuaid, perfect guys, just for depth and for the AHL. That's back-to-back shutouts in the preseason here, 5-0 and 3-0 wins. Let's check out this lineup. My bad, just need to wait another couple of days to get a new AHL head coach because I need someone, there we go, who fits Casey Middlestat to make him really grow as well as possible. My goodness, 3 straight shutouts here in the preseason. That is ludicrous. We'll check it out at the end of the preseason, but now we can look at the lines. So here's what we're thinking moving into the 1920 season. First line, Olofsson, Eichel, Reinhardt. We get the +5. Reinhardt's playing like a 90, Eichel a 96, and Olofsson an 87. Olofsson could really explode here, and to be honest, I want to extend him ASAP before he starts doing so. Second line, Skinner, Johansson, Puljujarvi. I think that it's only a +1 due to Johansson not having a good line fit and not being a center. I think it was just, if he was a center actually and maybe a bit of a better line fit, it would definitely be a +3. Puljujarvi here, it's questionable because he could fit somewhere else, but the +1 with Jeff Skinner and Johansson, a good playmaker, I think he'll very much benefit from that. I could put a guy like Cahoon up here instead, but then you lose the +1. There's not many guys who give it a +1 except maybe like Simmons, so it wouldn't make sense to put Simmons or Okposo there. Third line, Dominic Cahoon with Zemgus Girgensons and Wayne Simmons. This is a good line. They're playing very well in the preseason thus far. 5 points in 3 games for Simmons. Girgensons has 3 goals and an assist, and Dominic Cahoon with a goal and 3 assists. Fourth line, Kyle Okposo. I really wanted to utilize Okposo, but it seems as though we might just have to ride it out for this season. In the future, we may use him in a bigger role. He still has 4 years left at $6 million. I'd really like to use him to his max potential. I could play him on the first line, give it a +5, but then Reinhardt would have to move down, and then if Reinhardt goes here, it's still only a +1. Then where does Puljujarvi go? Then Simmons is on the fourth line. It all trickles down. So I like Okposo here, Sabatka and Frolik. The scratched forwards, I have Jimmy Vesey and Dominic Moore on the scratches here. Jimmy Vesey, it's unfortunate that he doesn't crack the lineup, but I'm sure that they'll get some playing time. Over on defense, Dahlin and Ristolainen have a +1. Jokiharju and Montour also get a +1, and McCabe and Miller also get a +1. Everyone's happy across the boards, getting a little bit of boost in the steps. They take a little good pregame meal and they're good to go. Now on the special teams, power play, the first unit unit is only a +1 because Dahlin and Ristolainen do not fit the power play. Being two-way defensemen, that's the issue. If one of them were to really start exploding offensively, I would turn them into an offensive defenseman. But at the moment, they're more two-way Ds. If you watch them play, if you know them, they're two-way kind of guys. Ristolainen's probably the one who's more offensive, but we'll keep them as they are for now. It's only a +1. The second unit, though, gets a +3. I'm hoping that Puljujärvi and Kahun will really benefit from this unit. They all have great check marks, so this could really be a good power play for us. And on the penalty kill, it's 0 and 0. No one really fits at all, but just to have good defensive forwards and defensemen, this is it. So we'll make changes as we go throughout the season, if and when necessary. In net, Ullmark and Hutton, and Matt Hunwick is backing up. In San Diego. In Rochester, I worked this chemistry to the bone here. I went just absolutely crazy trying to fix everything on every single line, and this is what I came up with. Tage Thompson and Casey Mittelstadt will play together on the top line, both as 78s, making themselves into 81s with that +3. Second line, Larson, Dea, and Wilson +1. Third line, Lazard, Lear, and Murray +3. Fourth line, unfortunately, Ellie, Asplund, and Smith. I want all three of these guys to get playing time, but they don't fit anywhere else. They have terrible line fits, so they're going to play on the fourth line with a -1. On defense, Pouliot and McQuaid. I really wanted Derek Pouliot to have a +3, but there's no one that gives him the +3 because he only fits really on the third D pair with this new coach. I could put him on the third D pair and get a +5 if I play him with the right guy, but I'd rather play him on the first pair and get a +1 than on the third pair and get a +5. Unless, if you have a suggestion, I'd be happy to change it. Second pair, Nelson and Fitzgerald +3, and then Redmond and Hickey also a +3. Special teams over here, we get the +5 and the +1 on the two units, and power play 0 and 0 as always. Goalies, Luukkonen backed up by Jonas Johansson, a bunch of scratches here, a bunch of random guys, and those are the lines here in Rochester. So we're ready to sim through the rest of this preseason, and we can finally get this season going. It's already a long episode, going to be a long one, but we're just going to go up to the trade deadline, so hopefully it won't take too much of the day up. Let's just get to the end of preseason, check out the stats, and adjust accordingly. So we finished the preseason 5-2-0. 4 of our 5 wins were shutout wins. So I don't know if Linus Ullmark and Carter Hutton were eating putting some special powder in their mini wheats or something, but that is just unbelievable. Let me look at those stats first, actually. Goalie stats. Ullmark 4-2-0 with 3 shutouts, .953 save percentage, 1.17 goals against. Hutton played 1 game and got a shutout. Sheesh, my goodness. So of all the point scorers, Eichel and Reinhardt both scored 9 points. Simmons, Gergensen, and Skinner all got 6 and 7. Monter, Olofsson, Kahun, everybody. Where's Puljujärvi? 3 assists in 7 games, not bad. We really want to maximize him as much as possible. I don't know what I'm going to do with the line chemistry. I really want him to do well and become a big sniper on this team. It would be a great story to be able to say that we rebuilt this guy from the ashes. Fits the second line perfectly. Johansson just doesn't fit the second line as much. If I had just a good second line center, sniper, if I had a good playmaking second line center, that would be perfect. But then where does Johansson go? Do I trade Marcus Johansson, an alternate captain on this team? I don't think so. But like I said, we'll see when the trade deadline rolls around. We're ready to finally kick off this season deep into the episode. We made some moves, made some line changes, made some coaching changes, made some scouting stuff, did some rearrangements, and the season kicks off in Pittsburgh against the Pittsburgh Penguins for game number 1 of year number 1 here in the 1920 season. Let's do it. First period, 2-1 Penguins, Malkin and Rust. Second period, 3-2. Puljujärvi scores on the power play. Rust scores his second. Our goal scorers are Puljujärvi and Gergensen's here in the third period. Power play for us, killed off by the Penguins. We're out shooting them. We just got to get a goal on the board. We're going to be playing a lot of good Eastern Conference teams. It's a strong division that we're in. Guys like the Penguins, the Maple Leafs, high-scoring teams. It's going to be difficult, but the Rangers will make it happen. Bukestad goes up 4-2, and we'll call it there as we lose our season opener 5-2. We don't know what kind of team we're going to be this season, but we're going to find out soon. But we're going to simulate a very good chunk, actually. Let's get at least like 15 games done in this season. And we'll go to Game 15 itself, up against the New York Islanders. I'll just send out the scouts, and then we'll reevaluate where we are by Game 15. Carter Hutton, bruised hip for a little bit. So that means Johansson will get called up because I don't want to bother calling up Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I'd like to just keep him the starter for the whole year down in the minors, especially when it's cancel. He has to go through waivers. But why did I trade Hammond then? Okay, I'll call up Luukkonen just for a game, but I'm gonna have to go out and sign a depth goaltender. Alright, Chad Johnson is back on board for like his third stint with the Sabres, so he will be our third goalie for the rest of this season. As Luukkonen can go back down to the minors. Oh boy, he did play. He made his NHL debut, made 6 saves, and had a .750 save percentage. The poor guy. My apologies, that one game was actually with Rochester, so Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen yet to make his NHL debut, and we are all excited for that day. Here at game 15 now, we are 10-3-1 through our first 14 games. Very, very impressive. Islanders are 5-3-4. Here we go. First period 1-1. Kyle Okposo up against his old team. Second period 3-2. Beauvillier and Clutterbuck score for them. Jeff Skinner scores on the power play for us. We've allowed 3 goals on 14 shots, which is a bit shaky. Down by 1, about halfway through. Thomas Greiss is a monster in NHL. That's our third goal finally. We have 3 goals on 34 shots against him now. Game tied at 3. 5 minutes to go. Out shooting them 36-17, but we just can't beat Thomas Greiss for a 4th time. Oh yes, Zemgus Girgensons does. No overtime for us. 4 goals on 38 shots. A late winner from Zemgus. Love this guy. He could be a new series hero. Zemgus, Big Z. And that is another victory for the Sabres, boys. 19 points in 15 games for Big Jack Eichel. The team's doing well. I'm pretty surprised that we haven't limited moves and they're doing so well. Skinner, 18 points in 15 games. Beautiful. Reinhardt, 1 goal, 15 assists. You need a playmaker like that. Olofsson, 13. Johansson, 13. Cahoon, 13. Simmons, 12 even. Great. Ristolainen, 9 assists. Puljujärvi, -7 with 7 points through 15 games. There was a bunch of injuries actually to note as well. Ristolainen and Reinhardt, and then 2 guys in the minors after those 15 games had injuries. So I'm going to move the slider down to 13 instead of 14. Montour is injured as well. Sabotka, Miller, McCabe, Jokiharju, Frolik, etc., etc. Kyle Okposo has a couple goals. Looking at the goalers, Allmark 9-3-1, 881 save percentage. Carter Hutton, 2 games that he's played, 1-0-0. 2 appearances, that is, 1-0-0, 916 save percentage. Looking pretty good. What I want to see though is our special team stats. We're currently the best team in the NHL with a game in hand on the Panthers, which is pretty wild if you ask me. Power play, oh my goodness, 19.7%? What in the world? I guess that's pretty, well, okay, that's not crazy. I'm just used to it being at like 30. So 19 is not, that's actually not bad. Penalty kill percentage, let's see. 82.1%, which isn't bad, but it's actually in the lower half of the NHL. Just that it's a pretty strong defensive NHL, I suppose, thus far. So power play and penalty kill are passable, and goalies are playing reasonably well. The goal scorers are there. I don't like the defensive, I don't like the plus-minus on the second line. So I'm going to keep giving it another little bit of a trial. We'll go to game 25 or so before we stop to start changing things up. But Puljujärvi, I'm tempted to move him off that second line if the chemistry would work. But like I said earlier when looking at the lines, it's not easy. Let's go to see the 10-2-2 Florida Panthers in about 3 weeks' time. Alright, so a couple of losses and a shootout loss, followed by 4 consecutive wins to bring us to a record of 15-5-2. The Panthers have lost like 7 straight games or something, because they're 12-9-2 now. This was also our record in our first month. If I hadn't shown it before, you could pause it and take a look. But up against the Panthers now, we're 15-5-2 through our first 22 games. Let's see what we can do against the team, well, that was formerly right behind us for the President's Trophy, but are now a bit farther down. First period, it's a goal from Sam Reinhardt. Second period, 1-0 it remains. We're being outshot 26-16 at the moment, hanging on to that slim lead. Power play, nothing comes from it. We're definitely going to have to add to this lead if we want to win this game. I don't know if we can just count on whoever's in nets to keep standing on his head. Power play Florida, long power play Florida. My goodness, we kill it off. It's a masterclass. I don't know who's between the pipes. Linus Allmark. On the 39th shot of the night with 15 seconds left, we concede a goal. 1-1 headed to overtime. Now that is devastating. 39 shots and the 39th goes in. Shootout it is, but we take it. All right, Jeff Skinner scores the lone goal in the shootout. Outshot 40-28 in this game, but Linus Ullmark, what a monster. Of course, I didn't want to click on the 3 stars. My apologies. He was definitely the first star in that one. Ristolainen, injured elbow. He's been injured a bunch in this first couple of weeks here, first couple months. I changed the slider back down to 13, but maybe I'll put it down to 12. So we're 16-5-2 through our first 23 games. 30 points in 23 games for Jack Eichel. Things are looking good. I just don't know how it's kind of happening because the second line hasn't been great. -11. 12 points, though, for Puljujärvi, but a -11. I don't like that. Olofsson has 20 points. I got to get him re-signed to that contract. I'm going to try switching Simmons and Puljujärvi for the moment and see how that changes anything, if anything at all. I'm also going to check out the contract sitch here. Everyone wants an extension except Cahoon, which is good. Victor Olofsson wants $5.3 million. I'd love to get him locked up a bit more than that, and using the 85% rule, maybe a 6-year deal, bring him to 30 years old. That wouldn't be bad. 6 years at 6.975. 85% of that is 5.928. So if I could get him for 6 years at 5.95, that wouldn't be bad. Almost $1 million off what he's asking. 6 years at 5.95. I'm going to try offering that to him because I know that he can grow and he'll do well in that first line. So let's see what he says to that. Sam Reinhardt's also going to want an extension. We don't have a ton of money though. I'd like to get him for 6 years as well. That's a little expensive. I could go 5 years probably, which would be 8.425. So 8.425, that's really 8.4. Yeah, that's pushing a bit. Let's try 8.450. For 5 years, for a guy who's going to grow to a high 80, I guess that's fair. I know I could get cheaper at 3 years, but if I go 3 years, then he explodes, and he's wanting $11 million for another 4 years. It doesn't really make sense. 5 years at 8.4 million. 4 years would only bring him to 20. Yeah, you know what? Let's do the 5 years. 8.45 for Sam Reinhart. Brendan Montour, I'm not in as much of a rush for him. I don't like paying $5 million for 82 overall defenseman. Wayne Simmons would be great to get him back on the team. I think he's a pretty solid forward. If I could get him for a couple years at 85%, that would be 2.325 or so. Not a bad deal for an 81 overall. I'm going to wait on it a little bit more to just see if Olofsson and Reinhardt re-sign those bigger deals. Allmark I can't offer. Neither can I offer to Chad Johnson. Johansson I'm able to offer. Johansson may as well, why not? 3 years at 0.975, two-way guy. He can stay in Rochester for a little bit. So there are some extensions hopefully taken care of. We can simulate a few days to see if those get signed. I think they should. They all want it. Olofsson's on board. Johansson's on board. 5-0 loss to Tampa. Yikes. And Sam Reinhart, he should do it. He's rejected. You must be joking if you think I'm going to extend my contract. What? That makes no sense. Okay, Sam Reinhart, let's try it again. And now he doesn't want an extension. What? Come on, what does that even mean? He wanted the extension, and then maybe, you know what must have happened? Because I gave him the 85%. It must have been like 2 days after I offered him the extension. He didn't want the extension anymore, therefore he wouldn't take it at 85%. Come on, Sam Reinhart. Don't tell me you're not going to extend your contract here. I'm treating you like Pharaoh's son of Egypt or something. Where can we simulate to? We're in the month of December now. Let's just try and get more of the season done. We're moving pretty well. Let's go see the... Not a lot of good teams around here. 14-8-0 Tampa Bay Lightning. Yeah, they just spanked us 5-0. So let's go see Tampa in about a month or so. 3-0 shutout win. More injuries. This is really getting annoying. There we go. 3-0 win against the Leafs. Then I don't know what happened in the next game, so it went too quick. 2-0 win against the Devils. More draft stuff. We lost 3-1. Okay, so 3-0 win, 3-1 loss, 2-0 win. Okay. 5-3 loss, 4-1 win, 5-2 win, 4-3. This is the first time I'm actually simming through the calendar without having to pause to do some menial task. Huge 10-3 win against Philly, 3-0 shutout win against the Kings. Okay, now we're in a nice little groove over here. Islanders, Leafs, Panthers. Sorry, not the Panthers. McQuaid, more lines to fix. Casey Middlestat is up to a 79 overall, just to note. Very nice to see that. McQuaid was here all along. Okay, thanks for nothing. Simmons and a 4 2/3. No. So like I was saying, Leafs... I just can't say 2 seconds of words. That is the third time this season that Ristolainen has been injured. The guy needs to really just put a cast, a bubble wrap, something around that foot, that elbow. Hunwick has played 16 games of injury of fill-in for Ristolainen thus far. As I've been trying to say, 6-1 win, 10-3 win, 3-0 shutout, 4-2 win, then another 4-0 shutout, then we lose 5-4. It's like we either shut out the other team or we get decimated, like by 6-3, 5-4. Not decimated, but like a lot of goals against. Anyways, we are 26-11-3 going up against the 20-16-1 Tampa Bay Lightning. Probably the second to last game that we sim in this episode as we're getting closer to January and then to the trade deadline. First period here, 2-2 game. Olofsson and Puljujärvi, Ruta, and that's a crazy name for the Lightning. Second period, oh boy, that's what I'm talking about. There's the getting blown out of the water. Ruta, Kucherov, Kaloran, Coleman, Johnson. We're down 7-2 in the third period. Let's call it a day. We lose 8-3 as Dominic Cahoon adds one for us. We got absolutely shamed in that one. Sheesh, not good for the goalie numbers at all. But through the first 41 games, we're at the halfway point of our first season as at the wheel of the Buffalo Sabres. Jack Eichel has 55 points in 41 games, and our record of 26-12-3 is good enough for best in the Atlantic Division and best in the NHL by 1 point. So pretty crazy to think that the boys are simulating so well in such a weird season. It's because of guys like Linus Ullmark who just simulate well for some EA-deemed reason. We don't know why. Power play at 19.9% is not bad. It's one of the actually third best in the NHL. I will take it. Penalty kill in the NHL, 83.8, which is not at the top, but I'd say it's somewhere around the middle. 83.8% penalty kill is very passable. So Reinhardt is behind Eichel with 45 points in 39 games. Jeff Skinner has 29 goals and 41 points at a point per game. The chemistry is really working out for him. Olofsson 36 and 41. Marcus Johansson 35. Dominic Cahoon 28. Simmons 27. Zemgus with 23 big ones. Puljujärvi's a negative 12 with 19 points in 41 games. I don't know. I'm not sold on this guy. I really want him to work out here, but he's not really showing me that he wants to be here. Ristolainen 19 and 29. He's been out with so many injuries, and so on and so forth down the list here. Okposo 7 points. He's been working hard. For the goalies, after that tough game, Ullmark still has a .904 save percentage though, 2.77 goals against. Hutton, not that great, but the goals against average is there, and a decent record of 4-3-0. So no moves to make yet, but as we get closer to the deadline, we're going to look through all the trade blocks and all that good stuff. But for the moment, we are not there yet, so we will continue to simulate on through the month of January. Let's go see maybe the Ottawa Senators after the All-Star break. There's some good teams here. Ottawa, Montreal, who's better? Let's go see somewhere in the Eastern Conference matchups here. We'll see who's better after the trade after the All-Star break. 6-2 loss, then a huge 8-1 win. See, look at that. 8-3 loss, 6-2 loss, and then we win 8-3. 8-1, sorry. No in between. 4-2 win against the Blues. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen injured shoulder down in San Diego. All right. 4-3 loss to the Canucks and a 3-1 loss to the Red Wings. Looking for that 30th win. Come on, boys. We've lost 2 in a row. Something's about to happen. 3-0 loss. That's 3 in a row now. 4 losses in a row now against the Dallas Stars. Come on, boys. Let's get back in it. Let's go up against the Predators. I can't even see what the result of that game is because as soon as I come out of fixing the Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen injury, Jean-Sebastien Dea is injured. Dominic Moore can go and fill in down there. Great. There's a 3-2 shootout win. And now it's the All-Star break. At the All-Star break, we are 29-17-3 after those 49 games. Probably going to move the sliders down to 12 for injuries because I'm getting very fed up with them. The Canadians are the better team in terms of wins, so we'll go see them. Adam McQuaid is back as well. I might as well just resign as general manager of the of the Buffalo Sabres here. I might as well just go become the general manager of the Rochester Americans because they can't seem to just do some injury replacements. 5-1 win against the Senators. That was win number 30 on the year. Let's see what we can do up against the Montreal Canadiens. First period, 1-0 Sabres. Jeff Skinner on the power play past Carey Price. Second period, Jack Eichel scores another on the power play. Kotkaniemi gets one past Allmark. We're outshooting them 23-10 heading into this final period with a 1-goal lead, but Carey Price, you can never count him out. Jonathan Drouin ties this game up at 2, even though we're close to doubling their shots. It's been 3 out of the 4 goals have been on the power play here. 33-20 now the shots with 5 minutes to go. 2-2 game. Come on, boys. Eastern Conference division rival. Overtime. We could really get that extra point. At least we get 1, though. And headed to a shootout, and we lose. Thomas Tatar scoring the lone goal in the shootout. Brings our record to 30-17-4. As we move into the month of the trade deadline, let's go see someone closer to the trade deadline. We'll go see the Red Wings, who have 24 wins as of now. We play them next week, but we'll go see the matchup the week after. Frolik in a 6th for a 3rd and a 4th. That's tempting. Keep that in mind. Frolik in a 6th for a 3rd and a 4th from Vancouver. We lose 5-2 against the Blue Jackets, and we get shut out 2-0. Anthony Duclair and Thomas Vanek for Caden Primo and 2 third-round picks. Interesting. So Vanek ended up getting signed by the Senators, and he went back to the Montreal Canadiens. The second time he goes there as a deadline deal. Lost 2-0 against the Colorado Avalanche. Frolik in a 7th for a 3rd, a 6th, and Kevin Hayes. Wow. That's how badly they want to get rid of Kevin Hayes. My goodness, what's he doing this season? 7 years at 7.145. 10 points in 54 games. Wow, that is deadly. They are just begging to get rid of that contract. 3-2 overtime loss. 2/3 of Mikko Koivu and Marcus Foligno going to the Canucks. We got shut out again against the Rangers there. Frolik in a 4th for a 3rd and a 4th. Anaheim Ducks, we get shut out again. We've been shut out 3 of our last 4 games. We've been shut out. We are 30-21-5 at the moment. Red Wings are 27-20-10. This will be our last simulated game before the pause at the trade deadline. First period, there we go, boys. Eichel, Simmons, and Okposo. 3 of them past Jimmy Howard. Second period, 4-3. Yikes. So Nemeth, Perlini, and Filppula get 3 in that period. Eichel scores 1 for us on power play. We have a 1-goal lead in the third period. Shots 27-19 at the moment. Come on, boys. Can't lose to Detroit. In real life, they're garbage. Somehow they're winning these games. Perlini ties this game up at 4. Power play killed off by the Red Wings. Once again, a lot of shots for us. A lot of shots. 37-27. But we can't find the back of the net as we're still at a deadlock. Headed into overtime, and Zemgus Girgensons wins it. Yes, big Zemgus. Love this guy. 5-4 overtime win for your Buffalo Sabres. Jack Eichel was the first star. Somehow Jonathan Bernier was the reincarnation of Chris Osgood. And now we're just going to simulate up to the trade deadline. We'll take a pause there, look at the stats, check out the trade blocks, and we'll call it a day, boys. I'm liking how we're looking, and I'm excited to see what kind of moves we're going to make. So I think there are definitely some moves. We are buyers. I think we are buyers. We want to make a cup run here in this first season, and we may have the pieces to do so. So I just missed it on the screen by accident, but Jesse Puljujarvi did get a concussion. He's out until March 20th, so about 3 weeks or so he'll be out of commission. But up here at the trade deadline, we're coming off a couple of wins back-to-back against the Penguins and the Jets, and we have a record of 34-22-6 through our first 62 games of the season with 20 left to go. I'm glad that this is looking realistic. We're playing very well, but we're not running away with the President's Trophy or anything like that. Our record of 34-22-6 puts us at second best in our division, third best in our conference, and fifth best in the NHL. Very good, very respectable. Power play percentage of 20.1. That's a slight improvement on before. That makes us fifth best in the NHL for power play. And penalty kill of 81.7%. Could be better. It's still very good. It's just not as good as the rest of the NHL comparatively. But looking at points now, Jack Eichel, big boy, 79 points, the captain. 23 years old, 91 overall, really putting the team on his back. 26 power play points, 34 goals in 62 games. Great stuff from Jack. Sam Reinhardt, 67 and 60, playing very well. 56 assists from him. Jeff Skinner is a point per game with 36 goals. He leads our team in goals, and he has 62 points in 62 games. Very, very happy that Jeff Skinner is doing well. 62 points. And even Marcus Johansson, 51 points in 62 games for him. That's really not what I was expecting at all from him. Almost 30 years old now. Victor Olofsson, 25 goals and 44 points for him, up to an 83 overall. Wayne Simmons also at 44 points. You wouldn't expect that from an 81 overall power forward. He's he's declined a little bit in the last few years, but 44 points in 62 games, on pace for 50 plus points for sure, which would be his best season since 2016-17. Dominic Cahoon, 35 and 62. Dahlin, 30. Ristolainen, 27 points in 47 games. Big Zemgus with 26 and 62. Montour Puljujarvi now, 21 points in 61 games. He's up to a 79 overall. His shooting has gone up. It used to be 3 stars. Now it's 3.5. He's a negative 18. I don't know, man. Like, I'd want more from him, but at the same time, on the third line with a +1, can I really expect that much from him? The negative 18 is a killer. 21 points. Now he's out for a little bit. He's not gonna even hit 30 points this year. I don't know. Like, I'd rather trade him and take a chance on someone like Josh Hosang. I'm really not sold. I gotta check their stats after, but let me know what you think about Puljujarvi. Miller, Okposo, -10. Sabatka, McCabe. All these guys down here. Jimmy Vesey's played 3 games. In net, Allmark, 27, 19, and 5 with 4 shutouts. 904 save percentage, 2.78 goals against. Hutton and Johnson playing well when called upon. Looking at the points of the entire NHL now, I know Dallas is in the lead. So, yeah, Tyler Seguin. There he is. 54 goals and 92 points from him. Jack Eichel is second in NHL in points, though. And in goals, 1, 2, 3, 4. Jeff Skinner is tied for 4th in the NHL in goals. And then 5, 6. Jack Eichel tied for 6th in the NHL in goals. And looking over at Rochester, Tage Thompson has 49 points in 55 games, still at a 78 overall. And Casey Middlestat has 47 in 55, now up to an 80 overall. Derek Pouliot, 45 points in 55 games, very good. Stuck at a 77 though. Not sure if he's really going to grow. I know he's playing well for us in Rochester, but I really don't think he's going to grow much, if any, at all. Luukkonen is 20, 11, and 5 with a shutout, 908 save percentage, 2.34 goals against average. That's very nice to see. But up here at the trade deadline, we got to figure out what are we going to do with Puljujarvi and pretty much with the bottom 6. I'm not sure. The entire top 6 is playing well, but Okposo with his -10 and his 7 goals, 6 assists. Frolik, he could probably be moved to another contender for some picks. I could just dump him for picks and then trade those picks for some player that I want to get. On defense, Dahlin and Ristolainen playing well. Joki Harju's a -4. So maybe I could improve. I wouldn't trade Joki Harju or Montour though. I don't know. I gotta hear your suggestions on this little end of the season as we'll try to push to make the playoffs. Browsing the other team's trade blocks now, this is where some big inspirations will come in for us on players that we can make a move for. Matt Irwin, I'm going to look through each team and make comments. I know that there are some prospects and some actual NHL players like Grabner here, Wagner, Halak, 83 overall, prospects, James Reimer, lots of draft picks. Okay, Jonathan Toews on the block. I can't afford that though. Smith and Shaw, can't take them either. Looking for ideally 1 or 2 max years on the contracts. First round picks, Savard, 2 years left on his deal. Khudobin, Robertson, interesting that he's on the block. Howard, Johan Franzen, legend. I wish I could get him another cup. James Neal, can't afford that. Cassian, interesting as a power forward, 27 points in 62 games. Okay. Brett Connolly, he can score goals. Bad contract though. More picks. Trevor Lewis, 16 goals, 17 assists. Jared Spurgeon, he would be nice for defense. I would love to get Jared Spurgeon. He has, it's not too much trade value. 30 years old though. Does he have the extension? Well, he should have the extension kicking in, no? Would they tell me if he did? Because I gotta go check this out. Because I know in real life he has an extension coming up. Don't tell me they try and hide it from you. Yeah, they try to hide it from you. 7 years at 7.5. Come on, boys. I can't take that. Jake Evans, Antoine Waked, first-round pick. Derek Brassard, Johnny Boychuk, Josh Bailey, two-way forward, 85 overall. Interesting. Would he fit the lines here? He would fit the fourth line. All right, not really worth it then. Derek Brassard would fit the first line. If there was a second-line center on the block, that would be great. Georgiev on the block is something to note as well. That's pretty interesting. More prospects and picks. PK Subban on the block with the Devils. 9 goals, 22 assists, -4 so far this season. Would he fit? He would fit the top 4D most likely. Interesting. It would be pretty expensive though. Clark MacArthur, Ryan Callahan, Kevin Hayes, of course. Dumoulin, Nyberg, Joe Thornton. He would be nice to pick up. Evander Kane and Mark-Edward Vlasic have too many years left on their deals. But Joe Thornton, 41 points in 62 games. Maybe he's an option to go after, at least for... he could play second line center. It says he fits our top 6 forward line. Yeah, Joe Thornton could definitely be someone that we go after. Make note of Joe Thornton. Alex Steen, Mike Condon, first round picks. Andreas Janssen, Jeremy Bracco, Petrus Palmu, William Carrier, Marc-Andre Fleury, first round picks. Lucas Johansson, he's a good offensive... no, he's 2AD, but he does put up a lot of points, so that's interesting as well. And Mathieu Perreault. So I think that's pretty much it for this one, boys. Taking a pause here on February 24th. I'm going to go off screen to update all the scouting for the upcoming draft. But aside from that, that is the end of any managerial moves we could make. Let me know your thoughts on this lineup. Any moves, any trades, anything that we should do looking forward to the future. Contract situations. What do I do with Sam Reinhardt now that he doesn't want to extend? I'll try to send him something next episode, but let me know what you think he should be getting paid and if he's wanting too much. Should I re-sign Wayne Simmons for that $2.5 million or so, or should I just let him go after this season? I don't know. A lot of questions. Yeah, defense, should we improve on that? The plus minus, the goalie situation. Do we really want to push for a cup, or do we just want to make the playoffs, get some experience, see what happens, etc., etc.? So if I do get Joe Thornton, he'd probably slot in right here. Then where does Marcus Johansson go? Probably right here. Simmons would move down, then Okposo would move down after that, and Puljujärvi is the big question. Jesse Puljujärvi, what do we do with him? Because if I were to trade him, the other players that I was looking at the beginning of this episode were Josh Ho-Sang, who's now up to an 80 overall. That's very tempting. He had 45 points in 54 games in the minors. Ooh, that's tempting. I should go after Josh Ho-Sang. I could probably get him for Jesse Puljujärvi straight up, couldn't I? Oh yeah, the trade value would be in my favor. I could probably just do that 1-for-1. Should I trade Puljujärvi, 79 overall, 21 years old, low elite, for Josh Ho-Sang, 24 years old, medium top 6, 80 overall? I don't know. That's a good question. Please let me know your thoughts on that deal. Because the other guys that were suggested to us, Dylan Sprong is an 80 overall at 22 years old. Little too much trade value, maybe. 15 points in 62 games this season. And even Alex Galchenyuk, who I think has way too much trade value at this point. 82 overall, medium top 6, stats. Yeah, pretty good stats actually, but I don't know if I'd be able to get Alex Galchenyuk on an expiring deal as well. And then, of course, Julius Honka over on the Stars. What's he doing in the AHL for Texas? He's not even playing there. He has 4 assists in 29 games in the NHL this season. So those are the questions for you all my part owners and assistant general managers and Zamboni drivers here at the KeyBank Center in Buffalo. So thank you so much for watching. I'm excited to see what we can do in this series, especially here in year number 1 with the Buffalo Sabres, taking them over under new management. If you are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, as I'm putting out lots of episodes in this NHL 20 franchise mode, as well as a FIFA 20 series, and continuing my walkthrough of SpongeBob Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, 100% platinuming that game. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one, where we will finish off our first season.